Most people. And we are live. Welcome to the Green Nurse Podcast. We are live. I'm live from Vegas at Exhibit City News. I want to say a big shout out for this amazing studio so I can do some producing for Holistic Caring and the Green Nurses. And I'm also here with Jamie Rollins, Chief Nursing Officer at Keta MD. And Jamie, where are you today?
I'm down in Florida, beautiful, sunny Florida. It's nice and warm, 80 degrees, sitting outside.
Sitting outside. So here we are. Welcome to the show, everyone, to the Green Nurse Podcast, where we do bring that hope and inspiration for growth and healing. We're here to decrease stigma around what it means to feel good and be high. And we're going to start really quickly with one of my little favorite videos so we can gather the troops. I know it's later out there on the East Coast. However, I'm showing up no matter what, because I love you all.
Change the paradigm of healthcare.
The Green Nurse is a holistic cannabis nurse that teaches on the endocannabinoid system and the safe utilization of cannabis and other progressive tools to help people reach a better quality of life.
I'm the founder of Holistic Caring. We're based here in California, and we do educational programs and case management for patients on how to use cannabis therapeutically as a medicine.
We're also here to decrease stigma around what it means to feel good and be high, hence the H for hope, I for inspiration, G for growth, and H for healing.
As the founder of Holistic Caring, I basically oversee the whole ship. And what we're doing is progressive education.
Cannabis actually supports all 11 organ systems, our immune system, and all the neurotransmitter signaling systems that give messages to tell our body to either do something or not do something. Because the plant was prohibited, it prevented health professionals, doctors and nurses from learning about cannabis as medicine.
I want to change the paradigm of healthcare and us paving the way into a new vanguard of medicine. And I'm excited to really bring this into light. There's a company called Cannabis that we're merging with, and we will now be doing global education.
It's about education, it's about empowerment, it's about teaching people how to feel good, bridging the gap from what they're not getting from traditional medicine, utilizing different plant medicines, adaptogens, tips, tricks, hugs, and nugs of information to support and nourish the most important system in our body.
And it's a lot of soul work, a lot of love, a lot of discipline, and meditation. I'm using my life work as a testimony to others to learn how they can be their own hero and then go help heal the world.
And we are, as nurses, the game changers.
There we go.
Game changers, jazz hands.
Jazz hands, game changers. We're here to change the world one puff at a time. Truly here, as cannabis nurses, registered nurses, healing nurses, patients.
Psychedelic nurses.
So Jamie, for the new fans and viewers out there, will you just let everyone know? I mean, I met you in person back in 2019, and boy, 2020 has our relationship grown, not only in the cannabis space, but also the space of psychedelics. Woo! Right? So here you are, Chief Nursing Officer at Keta MD. Just for our new viewers that are new, that don't know you, because you're a regular every Thursday co-host here on the show. So let everyone know who you are and how you got into the space.
I got to perfect this a little bit more so it's a little bit better of an elevator speech. But I'm Jamie, and I got in the space because of cannabis. Cannabis is a gateway to not only health but opportunity. And working in cannabis medicine led me to the connections that led me to the space of psychedelic medicine, where there are a group of nurses, just like there were with cannabis, continue to be with cannabis. There's a group of nurses who are blazing the trail, and I'm hoping that I'm helping to lead the way in that space and create job opportunities for nurses to use our nursing skills, the reasons we became nurses, to use those skills with people. So I don't know if you, Sherry, there was a really great article I posted on my Facebook about why nurses are the best to be stepping into these roles as psychedelic sitters and guides. So if you haven't checked that out, maybe I can post it to the Green Nurse community as well. But it was a great article on that. So, that's who I am. I've been involved in the cannabis space for a while. I'm the affiliate director for Nurse Grown Organics. I lead an army of nurses there, 60 strong. And, we've got about the same with Keta MD right now. So I am really honored, humbled, and proud to be serving in this space of leadership to help create opportunities for nurses like this, because this is where so many of us feel that we truly belong, is in this space of teaching people how to heal themselves.
Teaching people how to heal themselves, honestly. Yeah. So, when we went into the nursing space, we went into nursing school, and we learned about, we learned that the essence of nursing is human caring. Right. But then what happened is when you enter into the system
of the corporate, profits over patients.
Changes. Exactly. So, it's like a lot of what we've wanted to do as nurses had shifted, but now it's coming full circle. So that's why many of us that have been in the conventional system have reached out and incorporated other healing modalities, not only in our personal lives, but as side gigs. Right? Nutraceutical consulting, energy healing, Reiki, yoga. You're a yoga teacher, certified yoga teacher trainer.
Massage therapists, herbalists. I mean, there are so many nurses that have these cross kind of interests that are like plant medicine, holistic modalities, acupuncture, acupressure, Reiki. I mean, think about all the amazing nurses we know that also are dabbling in all of these other alternative modalities. You guys are creating a space right here at the Green Nurse community to bring all of those things together.
Yeah, absolutely. Bringing it all together. So that's the other thing. So as we have utilized all of these other holistic progressive tools in our lives, personally and professionally on the side, enter into the cannabis space. It adds another layer of healing, because we have an endocannabinoid system. And as we know, we talk about everything that support it and things that don't. Leads into the next thing of the psychedelics, other plant medicines, fungus. And I love how ketamine is a great introductory, a great gateway into those other plant medicines that exist, because ketamine is FDA approved, right?
It is a medication that we've just had a lot of history with, since I believe it's the 70s. It's a pediatric anesthetic. So the safety and, the length of use among humans, we know that the safety record is good. It's FDA approved for anesthesia, but it's off-label use for what we're using it for mental health right now.
Yep, absolutely. And the part that's so great about that is very similar. You think about the biphasic effects of cannabinoids. Well, very similar with Keta MD. High doses, it knocks you out. Low doses, works on your brain chemistry, to work on that lateral habenula, to work on those dendrites to grow, to improve neuroplasticity, to assist in our ability to facilitate healing through processing emotions going in.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't even think about that really, because you use higher doses to put somebody under anesthesia, to put them kind of like in truly a dissociative state, and then you're using the psychedelics of ketamine as a psychedelic as a lower dose, and it is similar to how we look at cannabis and the dosing pieces. A couple puffs versus a gram of RSO, FICO. So very big difference in experience.
Yeah, really big difference. And so and the other thing that I love too is, as we have been doing research and development on the side as nurses, right, we have noticed that cannabinoids pair really well with the use of other plant medicines, including psychedelics. So really powerful stuff, specifically CBD. When you look at how CBD interacts in our body, it indirectly interacts with the endocannabinoid system, dialing down. Yes. And then our brain, the 64 targets in the body, interacts with all of the other neurotransmitters and brain chemistry. That's what we're dealing with when we're talking about plant medicine science.
What's going on between these ears.
That's it. It is really, really cool. So this delves into a little bit of today. So, Jamie and I have both done hospice nursing in the past, and this is going to delve into, a lot of what cannabinoids have done psychedelics have done has really helped people tap into spirituality. And you've heard me talk about this numbers of times before. Spirituality is the root of cannabis care. So when we come into the space as cannabis nurses, we're kind of reversing how we take care of patients. Generally, in the conventional system, it's about body parts, biological body symptoms, disease processes, tests, pharmaceuticals. If we're lucky, we get to mental, emotional health, and that usually doesn't happen unless we're in a crisis. Rarely do we ever get to spiritual health unless someone's dying. Right. And that's really, really critical and important. But what we're doing is we want to kind of reverse it a little bit. Let's bring in the essence of nursing, which is human caring. Let's bring in spirituality to really connect with people in a way that they're going to open up, sink in and relax, decrease their stigma, help them feel safe. And that increases their ability to learn, right, through that connection. And that's the part that's so cool about us as cannabis nurses.
That safety piece is really important. And I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just want to touch on that. Like, in order to learn anything, especially something that's stigmatized, such as cannabis or psychedelic medicine, you really have to feel safe with the person that you're receiving the information with. So that trust is such a vital component to actually having a patient understand the importance of how these things can help them. So that is that, as nurses, being the most trusted healthcare professional, voted 20 years running now. I might be off, might be 19. But that is such a vital part of kind of set and setting for any psychedelic or cannabis experience. Like, you want to have a good set and setting to be able to receive this information. Right. So that safety piece is super important. So find somebody, if you're out there and you're looking, come to the Green Nurses, because we will provide you that safe container to have that experience, or find a trusted professional, someone who has cannabis education in your local community that you feel safe with. It's really important that you do trust the person that you're receiving the education from.
Yep. And then that kind of leads into as to what Denise is doing. So Green Nurse Denise with Energized Living, Green Nurse Retreats, is she's creating retreats and atmospheres and little spaces where people can come to learn how to fully embody and embrace the plant in a safe space. So learning about the endocannabinoid system and how to pair. So as we know, right, the endocannabinoid system is nourished multiple different ways. Well, having her teach all the other ways that you can pair cannabis with different activities is going to help people not only learn the information cognitively, but having the experience grounds it into your body, feeling it and feeling safe, which is really cool. So having that experience, and that's what we're doing. Like we said, at Holistic Caring, we have this community here that is free for patients, providers, and nurses across the globe. Introductory to Cannabis courses, complimentary, patient portal, support group, and book club. So getting back to spirituality as a root of cannabis care, and that's what we're doing as nurses. We're really connecting not only with our patients that we take care of, but the providers and the clinicians that are coming to us from education. Yeah. Because I too remember, because they're coming to us. And once they get that aha moment, once I went down that rabbit hole and started to learn about the endocannabinoid system, cannabis as medicine, I got embarrassed. I was like, oh, I didn't know what I didn't know. And I didn't know that I didn't know it. I can't imagine what these other practitioners feel like. Yeah. Right. And so then what we do is what? We give them kindness and compassion and love and grace.
Because we were there too at some point.
Because we were there too.
Yep. Right. We had the same kind of thoughts. Yep. Have you ever been in a moment where you find yourself judging someone for their behavior, and then you pause and you're like, that was actually me 2 years ago. So I'm going to have some grace and compassion for that. I think it makes us better leaders when we can do that and be like, that was me. I've outgrown that behavior. And now I can have compassion for understanding what that is and why that's there,
Exactly. Good stuff.
Rabbit hole.
That rabbit hole. It is. And then it just keeps going. It winds down and leads in other directions, cannabis rabbit hole, psychedelic rabbit hole, ketamine, psilocybin, all of the different things.
So many questions.
That promote so many questions. And so I want to promote what you're doing. And then we're going to dive a little bit more into, the topic, end of life, cannabis, psychedelics.
Oh,
yeah. So what you're doing in Follow the Notes. We're promoting the Cannabis Science Conference in LA.
Yes, that's going to be so fun. How excited are you? First of all, I'm excited to just go to California because I love California. And it's been a while since I've been out there, right? Second of all,
Yeah.
we get to be around a bunch of our like-minded cannabis nurse folk. So I am just excited to do that. But then
Me
the
too.
third piece is that I'm going to be speaking at Psychedelics at End of Life on a panel talking about how we should be and can be using psychedelics to help ease end of life transition, help to create palliation for that existential terror and crisis that people face, that intense fear of death that some people really encounter, that there has not been palliation for yet. This is the yet, I really feel. So we're going to be able to share that information. So that is super exciting. I can't wait to see all the faces at the conference, and you. Although I get to see you at Christmas again time. So yeah.
I know. We're going to be going live on Christmas morning again, Jamie and I, at the Barking Dog Inn in, what is it,
the
Millbury?
Barking Dog Bed and Breakfast. Yes.
The Barking Dog Bed and Breakfast. Whoa, those 3 dogs are amazing. I'm telling you.
My parents are amazing.
Yeah, they are. Duke, Daisy, and Finnegan. The most 3 amazing dogs ever. You know, talk about emotional support animal for sure. They walk in and they're like, whoop, you know, and that's it right here. What are we all here doing?
Things. We're all here doing hard things in life.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, you know, at the end of life, having those conversations, this is what we do as nurses. We talk about things that people don't want to talk about because we know we've been there, we've seen, we've experienced the real world experience of being a nurse for 33 years. And Jamie, I don't know about you, but you're not that
17.
There you go. It's a long time, right? So having these experiences.
We talk about things that are hard to talk about and we normalize them. So I think that's the piece that we always forget to say, like, yeah, we talk about things that nobody wants to talk about, the wounds, the goo, the but we normalize it for the person that's experiencing it. We make them feel like this is, you're okay. You are not the first person that this has happened to. I am here to support you. We're going to get through this together. It's that, we normalize it. So that's why we can talk about all the things like poop and sex and, all of the stuff that nobody wants to talk about,
Well,
and death.
Death and dying. It is, it's really interesting having those conversations with your folks. I've being a hospice nurse and helping family members even have those conversations. And really interesting enough, and we'll talk about how cannabis can help, is me having a conversation with a family member about that patient dying. And then me having a separate conversation with the patient and what they're dealing with their other family members. And it's just interesting that there's no congruency, right? And so just imagine they're each having their own conversations in their head. What do they need to be doing?
Connecting, talking to each other. But that is what we are as nurses. We're connectors. And we're not just nurses. People really don't understand what nurses do. Half the time I don't even understand it because a lot of it's just innate, but we bring people together. We facilitate those conversations, and particularly in hospice, this is a skill that is very, very important, and one that you can refine is how to allow those conversations, how to foster them, how to hear one person in the family saying this, somebody else saying this, patient saying this, and realize that you can be a role in their emotional healing prior to their leaving this world. So to be able to do that as a hospice nurse and to take ownership of that, not just sit back idly and say, oh, look at this shit show of family dynamics. Okay,
right.
No, it's to be able to see where the healing can actually take place and facilitate and foster those moments of healing for the entire family, because you're not just there to support the patient, you're here to support the family dynamic as this transition happens. Because when you die, you don't just die alone. You do die alone, but you die, you leave the grief behind. Like, it's a family process, just like addiction is a family process. Giving birth is a family process. So, it's not just the patient. There's that psychosocial dynamic that is often overlooked in today's world in nursing and healthcare, because it's
and the same with pediatrics. I didn't even think of that. So birth, death, pediatrics, addiction is a whole family process. And you have to think about this too, as a clinician. You have everyone living in their own world. You have different ages, pediatrics to geriatrics, different experiences, right? And so people are all coming here, and a lot of times too, having the difficulty being able to articulate feelings and fears around what's going on.
Yeah.
right? And it's hard. It can be
To
really, really difficult.
articulate what you're actually feeling, especially when somebody's dying. Those aren't feelings that you're used to or could really define. So when someone's passing away or you're going through the anguish of losing a loved one, sometimes we can't even identify what it is we're feeling because we haven't had many opportunities to have and experience those feelings. So oftentimes people kind of are lost because they can't articulate what is actually what's emoting, like what is going on, what is this feeling, is it sadness, is it grief, is it guilt, is it
Right.
what is it? So it's a really good opportunity to sit in that. I encourage people to sit in that grief. Don't run away, don't try and bypass it, sit, listen, it's got a message for you.
It's totally got a message. And so this leads into, how can cannabis help? How can psychedelics help at the end of life, right? Cannabis can help us to sink into not being in judgment about what happened in the past, right? Just bringing in memories, legacy work, bringing in good times, processing emotion, having the ability to have those conversations, taking the icky emotions out of it, coming to closure. Right? What a beautiful thing.
It's
right?
so beautiful. I loved hospice for that. I was such a sucker for like those like moments. Like that is what it's what changed my life as a person, to witness those moments of healing and reconciliation. And to be able to foster those. I mean, life's short, girlfriend. We got to live it up.
Well, this is the other thing too what makes it even more beautiful. This is where the art of nursing comes in. So cannabis nursing. So what are we doing? It's high science, that hope, inspiration, growth, and hearing, the spirituality of how we help and heal patients, married to the science of cannabis, marrying that to the science of psychedelics, right? Because there is science that happens. It is medicine. It has a physiological response in our body. Now, what can we do?
That art form of sitting with someone, having compassion, being able to connect energetically, like that's the piece
we do
so naturally most of the time as nurses.
Yes, and here's a great story. So I'm gonna share a story. This is like off the beaten path. This is something that I was
off the beaten path story.
I know.
So out of character for you.
but I was like, you know what though? It was just like, it was research and development. And I'm like, this can't hurt. The worst thing that could happen is they think I'm weird. So, and I'm okay with that.
That ship has sailed.
That ship is So I lined up the family. It was the patient. I'm not kidding. The mother, the father, the kids. I had them all sitting around, and I had them close their eyes and literally sink into their heart and just take deep breaths, focusing on the heart space. And I did reconnective healing on all of them.
Love it. What was the response?
The response was, some of them cried. Some of them were able to sink in and just got really, really tired. One person was like, whoa. And then the guy that actually had it, the guy that was dying, he goes, this is great. This is good. This feels good. And I said, did you have an experience? He goes, yes. And he goes, I want you to do this every day. And it was
every day. Oh,
so it was the days that I came to see him. Now, this is the other cool thing about hospice. So at the end of life, when you're in hospice, your care needs increase. Okay. So when you go home on like visiting nurses, your care needs decrease. Okay. So they want to get you off service as soon as possible. With hospice, you have the ability to increase your care. The patients get to make choices as to what they want at the end of life, which is really cool. So this patient wanted energy healing every day. Well, guess what? I couldn't be there every day, but what I could do, we were able to find a Reiki practitioner that volunteered, that came in. Right. So the days that I were there, I could do the energy work. The days that I wasn't, we were able to utilize another service in hospice. That is the art and science of nursing. And that is what we're doing in the cannabis space, and psychedelic space,
Well, and the art and science of nursing too. I love it. I think the art of it too is, we talk about this a lot, is meeting a client or a patient where they're at, instead of just a standard kind of like, this is where we start. There's an art form to, being like, all right, where are we at and where do we begin so we don't overwhelm people? It's a lot of information. We've spent years studying it and becoming so experts per se. And now, it's a ton of information to really be able to relay.
Yeah. And so then now, we've talked about plant medicines, cannabinoids. We know, that we see that this can help. What about psychedelics, Jamie? You know what I mean? So now that we're, emerging and you're going to be presenting on that panel, and for the people that can't be there, give a little sneak peek. How do you see psychedelics helping people at the end of life?
I mean, what you were talking about too is what cannabis can do is kind of just kind of resetting kind of the image or an intention, or easing some anxiety, or making someone feel that they connect with the bigger picture, with the greater good, with the bigger consciousness of it all. And that's what I don't know. From my psychedelic experiences and from what has been reported with some of the maps, with the they did some psilocybin experience for end of life, and essentially the reports back are that they feel at peace, and that is our whole goal in hospice, is to create a comfortable transition, a comfortable end of life. And if I can bring at any point help to bring peace to someone's psychological distress, that for me is a huge win, because we've got meds to help with the nausea. We have meds to help with pain. We have meds to help with, end of life agitation and confusion and delirium. But we don't have anything except maybe a social worker at our disposal in hospice to deal with the angst and that existential, I call it terror, because it really is. It's this terror of, oh my God, what happens next? How have I? So it really helps clients, I think, and from what I've heard and seen, and from my own experience, I think it has a huge potential to be used
decreasing fear.
I mean, because really, fear. I mean, the fear is the terrible part. You don't want people focusing on fear. You want them focusing on the connections with their family.
Yes.
So as much time as we can get people to connect and sit in the goodness, the better. And that was always my goal as a hospice nurse. Where's your goodness? How can we every day bring the goodness of what you want to experience? And I think psychedelics will help that, just to bring peace and connection. That head won't be turning on all of these fears. It can be focused on loving the people that are in front of them.
Awesome, Jamie. That's just so beautiful. Peace begins with me. Inhale. Right? How can we be the best version of ourselves so we can show up and teach others how to be the best version of themselves?
Yeah.
This is why we want you to join us every morning here in the Green Nurse podcast, because we are bringing multiple different perspectives from clinicians in the space that aren't not only clinicians, but also real world people with real live experiences, and that are also patients too, that have experienced how these types of substances can bring new levels of wellness, for mind, body, and spirit. So Jamie, you rock. Thank you so much
for being with
us today. And we'll see you all. I got tomorrow morning with Green Nurse Denise, Energized Living. She's doing some cooking for us today, so it's going to be really fun to see her holiday chia pudding.
Oh, she's so great.
She is.
I wish I was there to eat some.
Yes, me too. We're going to see her all. We're going to all be together soon. And remember, everyone, what it's all about. It's about living your best life and helping others do the same. We love you.